Welcome to another video in the series, and today we are starting new module in the series. So what is the module? It is design and implement network security as per the syllabus. This is the new module, and the submodule that we are going to explore today is get network security recommendation with MS Defender for cloud. What? Network recommendations from MS Defender for cloud. This is our submodule. So let's try to explore network recommendation from MS Defender. In order to understand this, we first need to understand what is MS Defender. Okay, so this is the topic for today's video under this module that we have started. So what all videos will come for network security? We'll be talking about DDoS, we'll be talking about NSGs, ASGs, firewall, and a lot more security related things. So we are starting with network recommendation for MS Defender. So before that, let's quickly go through about Defender for cloud for our understanding. So what is MS Defender for cloud? This is what we need to understand. So it is a cloud native application protection platform. What it is CNAPP. Okay, it's cloud native application protection platform that provides, see, as the name says, protection platform. So of course it will be providing us protection. What kind of? Threat protection. Okay. What else? It will help us to manage the security posture. So we can write security posture and the overall security of workloads. So we can write workload security. Now, these workloads, where these workloads are residing, that's the tricky part. No need to stay in cloud like in Azure. You could have these things on premises or hybrid or another cloud as well. That is possible through MS Defender. Anyways, now if you have to, okay, before we ask this question, let me add these two things as a separate entity for MS Defender for cloud, which will help us understand it better. So MS Defender for Cloud has two key components. What are these two key components? Number one is CSPM and number two is CWPP. CSPM is Cloud Security Posture Management. Okay, where Defender will identify security vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, and accordingly it will recommend you, give you score and things like that. It will tell you the security posture of your environment. So CSPM is Cloud Security Posture Management. Now here it is giving information about your existing security posture, but in CWPP it will give you workload protection platform. It's Cloud Workload Protection Platform. Here, workload security, security posture. So these are the two components in a nutshell. So CWPP provides runtime protection for your workloads like VMs, containers, storage, database, and serverless functions. So CWPP has those protections set up in there, and CSPM will give you the posture, security posture information about your environment. These are the two essential component of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Okay, components. All right, so if somebody asks you now what is Defender for Cloud, how would you explain? Well, it would be absolutely Simple. Microsoft Defender for Cloud is CNAPP. Okay, it's Cloud Native Application Protection Platform that provides threat protection, security posture, and workload security. It has two key components, CSPM, CWPP. CSPM will tell you the security posture of your environment. CWPP will give you the protection for your workloads. In a very layman language, this is how you will define it. Okay. Now we should understand how exactly it works so that we can get the information of network recommendation, because only then we know from where the recommendations are coming, how we can get more recommendation or something else, some other recommendation that we're looking for. The big question is how Microsoft Defender for Cloud works. Well, Microsoft Defender for Cloud works by monitoring and analyzing and protecting cloud and hybrid workloads. But how exactly? Well, let's go back to our these steps. How CSPM would be work. But these are the two components. These are two things that is done by the Defender for Cloud. So how the CSPM will be done, which is like continuous security assessment. Okay, this will be done by continuous security assessment. Who will do the assessment? Defender for Cloud will do the assessment. Okay, so what exactly it does in the assessment? Well, it has several things that it will perform. The defender will continuously scan your cloud resources. So scanning, okay, to identify security risk and misconfiguration. So scan for security risk and misconfiguration. That's what it will be doing all the time, continuous assessment. What else it will do? Then on the basis of the security risk or misconfiguration or vulnerabilities, it will provide the MS Secure score. To this uses MS Secure score to provide an overall security ratings and suggest remediation steps. Yeah. Because if your score is not good, it would have the remediation step for you so that you can remediate and make your score good. It also provides compliance monitoring. Now, here is the key thing, compliance monitoring, like ISO 27001 and NIST PCI to help organization align with industry security standards. And we all know the compliance things are happening through Azure policies, right? Which means now you could understand how these remediation secure score all these are connected to the policies. So somehow in the back end, Defender for Cloud is leveraging Azure policies like the NIST framework or security benchmark framework and giving the recommendation or remediation steps, right? Anyways, so CSPM works this way. What about CWPP? Okay, CWPP is workload protection. Okay, that's what we are learning, how exactly Defender for Cloud works. All right. So CWPP is more or less is threat protection. Yeah, it will provide it's a it will provide you workload protection, right? Workload protection platform. So what exactly it is doing? It's providing you threat protection and detection. Okay, that's what it does, CWPP. This is what it does. So how exactly it is providing these things? Well, it uses latest and the greatest technologies that we are hearing all the time, ML, AI, and of course, behavioral analytics. This is something really interesting. So it uses AI, ML, and behavioral analytics to detect anomalies and malicious activities or vulnerabilities. Once it has those information, it can protect it from those information. It can detect and then protect. All right, then it can generate, of course, security alerts and recommendations to mitigate potential threats. So we can say security alerts and recommendations we can get through this CWPP, and we can implement those recommendations to protect our workloads. All right, then it can also provide attack path analysis, which is like advanced thing to figure out the attack analysis, yeah, to show how attackers can exploit security gaps. All right, so I think this is more than enough to start our network recommendations. So we know what is MS Defender for Cloud now. We know what are the two components and how these two component works. Okay. Now, just for the purpose of this video, I should mention it again. Azure Mic Defender for Cloud leverages Azure policy to enforce security best practices that we have mentioned here as well. So Azure policy audits and uh, what is happening in the back end, Azure policy is audits and applies remediation to ensure compliance and security benchmarks like CIS, NIST, or ISO, as we said. For example, if a VM lacks encryption, Defender for Cloud flags it and can apply an Azure policy to enable encryption automatically. Right. Okay, then Defender for Cloud comes with a set of uh, inbuilt policy initiatives. So it also has inbuilt policy initiatives. Okay, that are automatically assigned to your Azure resources to assess their security posture. So this continuous scan is happening because it has inbuilt policy initiatives. Okay, and these policies cover a wide range of security best practices and compliance standards such as CIS and IST. Right. So now you are saying how the network recommendation are coming from Defender, because at the back end it is utilizing Azure policies because it has some inbuilt policy initiatives which has a wide range of security best practices and compliance standards such as CIS and ISO. So Defender for Cloud includes several pre-configured initiatives that consist of multiple individual Azure policies. These initiatives are designed to audit and enforce security controls across various resources. And for us, that resource is our network. Right. You can also have your custom policies that can also be done, but that's a part when we'll be exploring MS Defender for cloud. But this is AZ700, and we are most interested in network recommendation from MS Defender. So Azure Security Benchmark 3. Yes. Azure Security Benchmark 3. Not Ench, but Bench. Benchmark version 3. Okay. This outlines 10 key network security controls to help any organization protect their Azure environment. Okay, and these are the recommendations that we get when we have MS Defender running our network and provide us the recommendations. So this is what we are going to explore. These are the network recommendations which is coming through AZ Security Benchmark V3 with the help of MS Defender for Cloud. So let's start one by one. The very first, and these recommendation is not, this will also help from the architectural perspective as well, because that is also, you need to be aware of the security when you perform the architecture. If you remember the 5 pillars of well architected framework, security is one of them. So the very first is network segmentation. All right. We all know network segmentation we do. Single network, then we have multiple subnet, or maybe we have multiple virtual networks like in hub and spoke topology. So, what is the principle here? Well, we are trying to isolate high risk workload to prevent unauthorized access and limit potential damage from security breaches. So, if you see, there are three things that I've mentioned: unauth access, okay, and blast radius, right? Limit potential damage, yani blast radius, potential damage, or limit damage. Okay. Now, how exactly we do that? As I said, we may have multiple virtual networks, we may have multiple subnet in a virtual network, and we apply filtering with the help of network security groups or application security groups to control traffic flow by specifying allowed or deny traffic based on the port numbers, protocols, and IP addresses. The rationale is segmentation reduce the attack surface. Yeah. Segmentation reduce the attack surface. All right. And prevent lateral movement within network, enhancing overall security, which is limiting damage. Okay. So if we perform well segmentation in the network, then we are planning for not giving access to unauthorized users, right? We are limiting the damage. For example, we have three subnets: app, web, app. For example, you'll understand in a very simple way right now, right here. There is a web, there is a DB, oh sorry, app, and there is a DB. And we have other resources here. All are in Azure. Okay. Now it has its own subnet. So it is web subnet. This is app subnet. Okay, let's say this is DB subnet. I'm not saying this is the only way. This is one of the way. We need to understand the principle and rationale. These are the principle and this is the rationale. Reduce the attack surface area. Why we do network segmentation. Now we have other resources here, right? Maybe this is another VM or something. Now we have NSGs applied here, okay? And these NSG will only allowed which supposed to be talking to DB subnet, not anything else. For example, only app is supposed to be talking to DB subnet. So in NSG, only this application VM or application subnet is allowed to talk to DB subnet, not web, not any other resource, not any other VM. All right. So only this can talk to this. So if this is compromised, this cannot go ahead and compromise the DB, right? Reduce the attack surface area. And if this cannot access the DB, because we have limit the unauthorized access, so limit the damage. So this is what we are trying to achieve. I hope it was I could explain it. This is the very first. Now second, the second is recommendation is, and we usually follow it not because it is giving us the recommendation, but these are the tactics when we prepare the well architected design for any customer. Now, the third is network controls. Yeah, we have done the network segmentation. Now we must be applying the network controls. So, what are we trying to do here? Well, we are trying to limit public exposure of cloud services by establishing private access points. This is what we are trying to do here. We are trying to secure cloud services with network control. In this particular point, we are only talking about limit public exposure. Okay. So how exactly we are doing? By establishing private access or private access point. Now, what is the rationale behind doing this? Well, restricting public access will definitely minimize the risk of unauthorized exposure and potential attacks. Unauthorized exposure, and we can also say reduce attack surface as well. Okay, so these are the things we are going to achieve, and ultimately uh, minimize the risk of unauthorized exposure and potential attacks. So, how can we control these things? For example, if we are running any PaaS service, we can enable the private endpoints, and we should disable the public access. If we have like app services, we can have VNet integration, private endpoint, and turn off public network access to wherever possible for any PaaS services, even if it is a storage account. So ultimately, if you can limit the public exposure, whether it's a PaaS service or it is a virtual machine, maybe you have public IP attached to the virtual machine, which is absolutely red flag. We should not be doing that. So the idea is, the principle is, limit the public exposure. Or if we go in a deeper way, in any environment, there should be one single point from where the traffic is coming in or coming out. Let's put it this way. This will help you block everything. There is only one point. Maybe we have multiple firewalls there for north south, for east west traffic, for layer 7 WAF traffic. So in such a way, we should be working that we should have no or minimum public exposure. We can limit it for the passer because it is a cloud. We are not controlling everything. We would like to have the benefits of cloud and utilizing or modernizing our application using PaaS services. We can control the public access of PaaS services as well with the help of private endpoints. uh, we must disable public access for PaaS services, whether it's storage or Azure SQL, from wherever we can. Right? That's the second point. Now, the third point is it should be under network controls, but it is as per MS documentation. This is third point. So, because I would say even firewall is the network control. So, let's call it a separate. Instead of network control, we should have like public. That's fine. Let's go with the firewalls at network boundaries, or yeah, that's fine. Firewall. So, what are we trying to do? We are trying to know what is coming in and what is going out. We are trying to control, we are trying to inspect and control traffic entering or leaving the network to prevent unauthorized access. So, inspect and control traffic. We would like to detect and block any malicious access, anyone who is trying to brute attack or who is trying to uh, do some kind of attack or damage to our network. So there is only one point, which is firewall, which has all the scanning and all the advanced technology in place, all the threat protection. So if there is a one point, firewall will take care of all the scanning and allow and like detect and prevent and everything. So that you are sure. You need not to focus on multiple openings in your environment, only single opening, and you can have all kind of firewalls implemented for the inspection and the traffic control. You could have NVAs, you could have Azure firewall. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to put a barrier rather against malicious traffic and protecting internal resources from external threats, so we can prevent as well along with the detection. Okay, and we can apply custom rules as well. We can control the entire traffic through this firewall, and we must have firewall. Right now, there is fourth recommendation, or we the thing that we must be aware of is monitor and defend against network attack. Monitor and defend network attacks. Okay, now let's explore this. Well, continuously observe the network for suspicious activity and protect against those threat, right? So continuous monitoring is happening, and as soon as there is a suspicious activity in advance, we are going to defend it. We are going to protect against those threats. So proactive monitoring and defense mechanism help identify and mitigate attacks before they cause any significant harm. So this is what we are referring here: proactive monitoring and defense mechanism. Yeah, this is the rationale for this point. I should make a point: proactive monitoring, like we do proactive hunting as well in the sim, and defense mechanism. So how can we do that? Well, we have DDoS protection, right? We can enable the service to guard against distributed denial of service attack. We can use tools like Azure Monitor and, of course, Defender for Cloud to detect and respond to anomalies. If we are utilizing Azure Sentinel, it has a capability of hunting proactive queries. You can go ahead and keep looking into your data. If you can proactively find out some malicious activity or anything that needs to be taken care of. Then we have fifth point recommendation is secure your DNS infra. Okay, so protect DNS to ensure a reliable and secure name resolution. Okay, and how can we do that? We can utilize Azure DNS, your usual way of deploying on a virtual machine, your DNS, or you could utilize private DNS zones, like manage domain names within virtual networks to prevent exposure to the public internet. Well, what exactly we are trying to do? We are trying to securing DNS infrastructure because it prevents attackers from redirecting traffic and intercepting sensitive information. So, DNS infrastructure. Now, the sixth point is okay, I should make this come here. Okay, and we can have this coming here. And let's start with the sixth point. Establish network connectivity to on-prem resources. Yes, connectivity. Well, securely connect on-prem networks to Azure environments if it is a hybrid, not only Azure environment. So how can we do that? We can have site-to-site VPN through IPsec tunnel. We can also utilize Azure Express Route. We have already been through both the things in our this particular series that we are going through. So what is the rationale behind it? Well, we would like to have a secure connectivity ensures data integrity and confidentiality between on-premises and cloud resources. Connection for data integrity, right? All right, so we are almost there. Then we have seventh recommendation. Well, I'm going this like that because of the syllabus. It says network recommendation or MS Defender, but don't worry. In upcoming videos, I'll go a little deeper and explore a lot more what syllabus says. So now you need to think about remote access. All right, so you need to provide secure methods for administrators and users to access Azure resources remotely. And how can we do that? Well, we have just-in-time access. Okay, we have Azure Bastion service. These things will help us for sure in securing remote access for our administrators because it will reduce the risk of unauthorized entry and potential breaches. We have only people who supposed to have the access through RBAC, right? And we have that access enabled on Bastion. Only those can use the Bastion, and through just in time, only for that period of time, they can use that service. Then we have secure internet exposed application. So, internet access, not internet access, but protect applications accessible from internet against threat. So, internet accessible apps. Well, we were learning WAF in previous video, right? App gateway and front door. So, of course, wherever we are exposing our applications on internet, by default, it is layer 7 protection, which is WAF, should come into the picture, WAF. And WAF is securing your L7 related anomalies or protection from exploits, but L3 and L4 also important. So DDoS protection is something that you should always have in your environment, because enhancing security for internet facing application prevents exploitation and ensures availability, right? Because this is where the exploits come from. All right, now let's see another one, which is external dependency. We should manage properly external dependencies. Okay, so uh, we must ensure that external service and partners connecting to your network adhere to some security standards. And we can control like service endpoint policies, like control which Azure service can be accessed from your virtual network. This is the same service endpoint thing if you're not utilizing private endpoint, because service endpoint will allow the entire service, but with the help of these policies you can allow only your service to access through service endpoint. We could have like regularly evaluate the security posture of external partners. Managing external dependencies reduce the risk of supply chain attacks and data breaches. Moreover, you could only give access from the compliant devices with the help of RBAC applied properly, right? Uh, with the help of Azure AD B2B, utilizing all kind of security standards, right? And least privileged principle, of course. Then the last is maintain secure network management. Okay, we need to ensure that network management practices do not introduce vulnerabilities. Like we do not want to kill ourselves by our hands, right? So we do not want to give knives in hand of the people or who doesn't have the steady hands, right? So it's like assigning appropriate permissions to network management personnel using least privileged principle. Of course, if wherever we can apply the privileged access through JIT and JEA, just enough administration or just enough time, like through PAM, privileged identity management for that particular period of time. We must enable the logging for network devices and services to detect unauthorized changes. Well, because secure network management prevents misconfigurations and unauthorized access, maintaining the integrity of the network infrastructure. Well, I think this is all. So in this video, we tried to talk about the network recommendations from MS Defender for Cloud. Couldn't go much deeper in this particular video, but it is good enough for the starters, because we at the beginning we try to understand what is Defender, what are the components, how exactly it works, and then we saw the 10 recommendation we usually get from MS Defender for Cloud in the MS Defender for Cloud pane, because it is coming from security benchmark version 3. We are going to explore all these things in much deeper in upcoming videos. Well, thank you for watching. I hope it was informative and you guys enjoyed it. Thank